coming up right now, it's my homeboy Cecil Shorts, man. Got this little montage for you. You see my man's right there. Cecil Shorts, NFL, former NFL wide receiver, Cleveland native. And we had a great conversation last week. I had to bring my man's back for part 2 of it. What's going on, brother?
I'm good, man. How about you?
I'm good. The feedback from that was crazy, man. A lot of your family members started following me. They seen the clip I put up. Like it was a lot of love being shown, and a lot of people from Collinwood was like, that was fire. They was looking forward to part 2. What was some of the feedback from your end?
Just family loving, just loving to see us. Like two guys from the hometown linking up. A lot of friends were like, man, it was just dope to see you and Earl just talk, like just be on a platform. And how well Earl is doing, and just kind of this talking and having that conversation kind of just brought everything back home. So it was just dope just to see, kind of me and you collab and get this going.
Yeah, man. You said something to me when the camera stopped rolling that you don't even know really touched me in a major way, and it let me know that I'm really doing what God is telling me to do. That if you got a vision and if you feel like you want to use this platform to highlight what you want to highlight. Yeah. Just hearing you say what you said to me, it let me know that, okay, this is not in vain at all. You know what I mean? Because trust and believe, like a lot of what you've done has definitely been appreciated, respected. And I know for a fact, personally, it's helped motivate me to get to the next level. The last time we talked, I think when we left off before we ran out of time, is you was explaining the feeling that you had. You had just got drafted, but it was a lockout year, right? Yeah. And I remember seeing you tweet like, "Yeah, I just got drafted, but I'm about to go to work." like one day you get drafted, the next day you gonna go hit that clock. Like,
yeah, it was.
Talk about like, how was that like, man?
It was crazy, right? Like, first of all, the whole situation being like at the combine was surreal. The East-West All-Star Shrine Game is surreal. Like going on your visits to the Cowboys, to all these other places, the stadium, just surreal, because at a D3 school, you don't think about these things, right? It's a dream to you. You watch, like at that point in time, we were with like Cam Newton was coming out that year. I think it was Mark Ingram. It was just these people you watch on television, and you're at a D3 school, you look at them not as better than you, but you watch them on TV. Like you're like I'm arguing with my homeboy, my roommate, from Florida, that Florida State trash and Ohio State about to win national championship. And you see what I'm saying? Like we don't argue about D3 ball. We argue about the big time, right? So when I was at the combine and I'm see Cam Newton throw me the ball and I'm seeing all these guys, I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Like I had to snap out of it. I'm like, yo, you're here for a reason, right? Got to meet Jerry Jones in person. He basically told me, hey, we're either going to draft you, this guy named James Baldwin, who was a receiver at Pitt at the time, or I forgot the other guy. We're going to draft one of y'all three. I don't know when. If it's James, it'll be first round. If it's you, it'll be later round. Like it was just surreal, everything coming to play, right? So when Jacksonville called, and then I get off the phone, and we celebrate that night. We go hang out, whatever the case may be. Go back to the Mount Union, go hang out, and then next thing you know, like, I gotta go to work. I need a job. Like because it's the lockout. Like you can have no contact with the player or with the coaches, no contact with the organization. The team, the players can't go to that facility, right? So it was players at the times like David Garrard, and I think we drafted Blaine Gabbert first round that year. We all got on the call, and then we were going to fly down there later. But I'm like, I need money. Like, like what I'm supposed to do. So I was literally working on roofs, and my first son was on the way. So I'm working on roofs, training in the morning, then go work on. I'm sorry, I work on roofs in the morning. After that, go train, then go check on, make sure my son was okay, and she was my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, her belly, and then it was just going to repeat. So it was just like literally waiting on things to happen, and you had no idea. So I had to go earn money, right? Then my agent made some things happen as far as, signing cards, you get signed for this and that, but it was like, yo, you get so excited, and then it's like, I gotta wait still. Like I gotta wait. I can't even It doesn't even feel like I'm in the NFL yet, right? So that was mind blowing.
So like you went from being drafted to like you climbing up a ladder with shingles on your shoulders.
Oh no,
the
legit.
Next day.
No, legit. Tar on my hands and everything. Like legit.
Yeah, I know how that feels. Because like roof shingles are not light at all.
No. It's crazy. I'm nailing the dang on thing. It was real work, but it kind of put in perspective too. All right, this can be taken away from you. Yeah. Right. This is not, it's not guaranteed. You know what I mean? So it was crazy just to feel that, but it was eye-opening as well.
It almost seemed like it was kind of like perfect with your journey. You know what I'm saying? Because here it is. Yeah. You just got drafted, but like you going hammer and nails the very next day. Yeah. Back to the grind, man. So like when you first arrive, when you finally get, to go, lockout is over, you first get to Jacksonville. Just talk about some of those first experiences. You first see the facilities, the first touchdown. You get to score your first touchdown on national TV. Check you out, right? Like I still remember the call from John Gruden, man. Like what was all that like?
Monday night. So rookie year was crazy. It's lockout, and then we show up one day before training camp. Usually, perfect world, and you know this because you cover the Browns. Like draft day comes the next day or throughout that weekend, draft picks come in. They got their jerseys up. They signing pictures. They get doing press conferences, whatever the case may be, right? Then maybe the following week is rookie training camp, rookie mini camp, and then all this stuff. And they kind of get integrated into what's going on already with the organization, right? Because the vets are already there practicing and doing their thing. Then the rookies kind of just gently get put into it. Well, that wasn't the case. So we go from drafted, don't hear from nobody. I did go to Jacksonville for a week to work out with some of the players, but that was it. And then day one, I get a playbook that's like, looks like a Bible this thick, slapped on the desk. I'm like, what? Practice tomorrow?
What you talking about?
Like, what? Practice tomorrow? I'm supposed to do this? I'm supposed to figure this out? So my rookie year was rough because I had no idea how to be a pro. I had no idea how to study. I was at Mount Union for 5 years. Like I knew the plays in the back of my hand. You know what I mean? I didn't have to study. I watched film. I watched players, right? Other team defenses. But as far as studying my own plays, I didn't have to do that. I knew my plays, right? So learning how to do that, it was hard. It was hard. Preseason, I could hide it because preseason is so gentle with the playbook. I would put it. It's so minute. It's the same plays. It's just a group of plays. No coach wants to give anything away. And it was just simple. So, and I actually got like 2 MVPs of the game for Jacksonville in preseason, right? I'm playing against other college guys. It's easy. I'm like, oh, I'm about to kill it, man. I remember scoring my first touchdown in preseason. I ain't no dance, but I hit the cat daddy on the first touchdown. That's how old we are. I hit the cat daddy. Then I ain't no dancers. I'm looking silly or whatever. But
that's the funny part about it. That's the part that's funny.
Just sitting there, I'm like, oh, anyway. That rookie, but after that preseason, it hit hard because now this playbook comes, right? Mm-hmm. And now it's, are you committed to it? How are you taking care of your body? How are you studying your plays? How are you studying your cornerbacks you're gonna play? And I was a punt returner that year, so how are you studying the punter? Is he left-footed? Is he right-footed? What's his hang time? When he's inside, when they get close to the 50, around the 45-yard line, where is he trying to direct his punts? Is it to the right? Is it to the left? Right? Who's their best gunner? Who's their best special teams player? It's just so many details. I had no clue on what they were even talking about. Now I'll never forget Jack Del Rio. I had to stand up in front of the whole team. Hey, what's the punter's name? We were playing like it might have been the Colts at the time. And it was Pat McAfee. I didn't know. What's the punter's name? And I'm like, is he left-footed or right-footed? And then down, like a couple seats down from there, trying like, he's right-footed, he's left-footed. Like it's just all these different answers coming, right? Trying to help me. I just had no clue. Completely embarrassed. And it hit me like, yo, you got to get on your stuff. But I was more worried about, I made it. I'm I'm a draft pick. I'm here and there. It's like, you got your own money now. You got your own place now. I'm more worried about the other things that didn't necessarily matter as much as the actual game and what got you here. So that rookie year was rough. I'll never forget. Jack Del Rio sat me down in his office week. I don't know what he got fired that year, but like week 8 or 9. No, it might be before that. He sat me down and tore me a new one. He told me how bad I was, how I couldn't run routes. He had the film on, practice film on, of me getting like locked up or dropping the ball or running the wrong route or whatever the case may be. And I had tears in my eyes because he was literally telling me how bad of a player I was, like how terrible I was. And from that moment, it kind of opened my, I gotta get my stuff together, right? He ended up getting let go, and Mel Tucker kind of took over the interim role. And my role on the team was I was a kick return, punt returner, and then my role on offense diminished as the time went on because they couldn't trust me. I didn't know my plays, wasn't making the play when the ball was coming, just struggling. And Mel was like, I see something in you. So I started, practicing better. From that moment with Del Rio and then Mel taking over, I started practicing better, started studying this a little bit more. Wasn't there yet, but my opportunity came on Monday night. And I had a go route, right? We were inside the 10. And my route basically is just run the guy off, right? You never get the ball, but they always say you never know, right? So we're maybe inside the 5. And it's just a number 1 receiver on the outside has a go route. Number 2, I think, had the flat. Number 3 had a 5-yard stick, which is just 5 yards. You kind of sit down in the area, right? So I'm thinking he's going to throw to somebody else. So I get off the ball, boom, boom, and I outside release to the right. And I'm running, but I look up. I'm like, oh my God, he threw the ball. Now, Earl, we practiced this play since late July. They never throw the ball to the number 1 guy. Never. And he threw it. And I had no time to even think. I just like, oh my God, he threw it. I just reacted. It's on Quentin Jammer, one of the better cornerbacks in the league at that time. Played a long career. And I just jumped up and I put one hand out and it stuck. And I hit 2. And I looked up and I'm like, wow. And the crowd like jumped. And it felt like it took forever, right? It felt like it was like 10 seconds.
Oh, they was reviewing to make sure you was in. I was watching. I remember.
I'm like, yeah.
So look, my perspective, right? I'm sitting at home and I'm watching, and like a lot of us, we always knew where you was on the field. So I'm watching the quarterback eyes, and I'm like, oh shit, that ball going to Cecil. I'm like, oh shit. And when you caught it, and I see who you caught it on, I went crazy. I do remember you was like, yeah. And next thing you know, like they come back from break. Man, John Gruden is blowing you up. He's talking about everything you did at Mount Union. Like that was the highlight of, it sounds like what was a rough rookie season. Because I remember your rookie year, Jacksonville actually came to play Cleveland in Cleveland, and you was deactive for that game. Yep. I remember that. Yeah, I remember. Yep. I would do I didn't know if you was playing or not. True story. I had a relationship end over that game. I am not joking. I'm not joking, right? So this is how it went. Friend of mine gave me some tickets to the game. I'm like, it's around my birthday too. It's my birthday weekend. So I'm like, hell yeah, my boy played for Jacksonville. This is dope. I'm not missing this. And the girl I was dating at the time, she was like, all you do is watch sports. You all you do is sit there and go to these games. You told me you was gonna be watching the games. She said, I swear to God, if you go to that game, this relationship over. Oh, and all I kept thinking to myself was, she really don't know me that well. At this time, bro, the Browns is not a good team. And so any opportunity that you get that you think the Browns can possibly win a game, you take it. Yeah. We never got back together, and Colt McCoy led us to victory that day. So I made the right choice. Hey. I made the right choice. I made the right choice. But fast forward past that rookie year, like that next year, man. That next year, like, dude, you turned into, to me, you was always a route runner. He was always a possession wide receiver. And next thing I know, it's like, man, Cecil got all these 40, 50, 60-yard touchdowns. Like, what happened?
New coach came because Jack got fired. And it was like not a clean slate, but when new coach comes, they get rid of everybody, right? They paid Laurent Robinson 4 years, $32 million to come in. from Dallas. He had a really good year in Dallas the year before he came in. They drafted Justin Blackmon, number 5 overall that year. Jacksonville did. And they just paid a guy we already had named Mike Thomas, 3 years, $12 million, something like that. New coach comes in. They did make those moves, and then they bring in free agents, like undrafted free agents or whoever. You know, they bring their guys they want in. I'll never forget. I was on the board. It was before we left. It's like a break before training camp, right? So before we left to go for it's a small break. We went to mini camp. I think it was or something. It was something we had a break. Wasn't training camp yet. It was something we had a break. And Coach Jerry Sullivan, the new wide receiver coach that year. He's like the wide receiver guru, godfather of wide receivers. Old white dude from Miami, most swag in America. Knows the game. He was probably 60s when I was there, running routes, like literally running routes, showing us how he wants the routes to be ran. But he's writing everybody like X receiver. And he wrote like depth chart, you know, Justin Blackmon, so and so, so and so. Z receiver, so and so, so and so, so and so. F receiver, so and so, so. Y receiver. 13 names written. My name wasn't one written down. Right, to raise my hand, Coach. Where do you want me to be at? Oh! I didn't write you down. Well, you just go play this position. I'm like, damn. I'm that low on the depth chart. Afterthought. I was just a draft pick a year ago. To the point where he forgot I was even on the team, or forgot to even write my name down in that room. Because he's one of the new coaches that came in. I'm like, yo, I got some work to do. So we come back and it's mandatory mini camp and stuff like that. I listened to everything that wide receiver coach said. I mean, to the T. How he wanted the route run, the depth, how we supposed to do releases, the whole 9. He had his cut-ups of all this stuff, and I'm just listening and doing the best I can to the point where I was walking around my house running routes. I was walking around my house doing releases. I'll go to the mall, I'm doing releases. I'm thinking about it 24/7 because I'm like, I have to make the team. I was forgotten about. I have to make the team. So during that mini camp and right before training camp, I started making a little bit of noise. I started making some plays. So he pulls me aside. He invites a few of us. He's like, hey, I'm really good friends with Larry Fitzgerald. I've been training him the last however many years. You should go to Minnesota and work with him. I promise you it'll change your life. I'm like, Larry Fitzgerald. And at that time, he was probably the guy in the league, right? I'm like, oh, absolutely. Done deal. Summertime, went down to Minnesota. That's where Larry Fitzgerald is from. Went there for about 2 weeks. And I trained with them. It was a group of guys. And I trained with them. And the way he worked, you'd have thought he was an undrafted free agent trying to make the team. Now, at this point, he got a $100 million contract. He's all pro this, all pro that.
He fits at this point.
In the league. He fits, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's running a slant route. It's thrown behind him. He'll reach with one hand, snag it, and then keep running. It's just crazy stuff, right? But he works like he's trying to make the team. He got his quarterbacks there with him. Carson Palmer was there. Drew Stanton was there. Tavares Jackson, may he rest in peace. He was there. It's like he was working. I ain't never seen nothing like that. After he worked out, took care of his body. Whether it was lifting, whether it was recovery, whether it was massage. After that, he went home. We got a chance to go to his house in Minneapolis. I'm sorry, in Minnesota. I mean, chef had nothing but healthy food. So I'm learning how to be a professional. On the table is a playbook. I'm learning how to be a professional, right? That's what changed my life. That's what's the biggest thing going into that sophomore year. Understanding I'm watching a great for 2 weeks from sun up to sundown. How he took care of himself, how he trained, how he took care of his body, how he worked, how important recovery was, how important eating was. And I'm like, I got to do this. Everything I learned there, went back to training camp and did it. Exactly did it. And then continued to listen to my coach. He was amazing. He was the absolute Jerry Sullivan, one of the best receiver coaches I've ever had. I had some darn good coaches. I was able to be coached by Matt Campbell, head coach at Iowa State right now, is a Mount Union grad. Jason Candle, head coach at Toledo, a Mount Union grad. It's just so many guys I was able to be coached by, and they changed my life, right? Mm-hmm. Mount Union changed my life. But in Jacksonville, Jerry Sullivan was it, man. Like, so that year, going there and training, and then coming back and just grinding and not caring about anything. I had nothing to lose, not caring about anything else. Preseason, had a good preseason, was balling out in camp, and I had to wait my opportunity. I was like probably 5 or 6 on the final cuts, right? So I made the team, cool. First game comes, and then if you're a 5 or 6 receiver, you're a role player, right? You got a package of plays, right? So I'm like, I know my package of plays. I know the whole playbook as far as the game plan that week. But I got a package of plays. I got to make sure I'm down. I knew it, right? I'm on top of it. First third down comes. I go in the game with my package. Boom. Caught a 5-yard in. Caught it. Boom. First down. Give up. Get a little first down signal. I'm like, okay, this is different than last year. Okay, I'm in. I sit the bench the rest of the game. I blocked a couple plays. Sit the bench the rest of the game. End of the game, we're down. It's Adrian Peterson's first game back from a torn ACL, right? And he's actually playing decent. It's actually his 2,000-yard season after ACL. It's crazy. But end of the game, we're in 2-minute drill. In 2-minute drill, I'm in the game. I'm like, cool. Blaine Gabbert throws a bomb to me, about 50-yard bomb in the air. Somehow I come down with a touchdown. We're up with like 30 seconds to go. Crazy. 2 catches, 2 targets, 2 catches. I'm like, this is different because of the work I'm putting in, right? But I'm building my confidence up. 30 seconds left in the game. Somehow we end up losing. We end up going to overtime and losing. But boom, 2 weeks later, Indianapolis game. Again, I'm a package guy, right? A few plays here and there. I'm blocking. A few plays here and there. I think I might have had 1 catch earlier, maybe not. End of the game.
That touchdown was crazy, by the way.
End of the game, right? I run we call it a pot route. It was or the concept was called pot, where it's like a post and an out, right? The outside guy has a post, number 1. Inside guy has a 5-yard out. So how we run the post is a cover 2 beater. We know they're going to be in cover 2 because at the end of the game, they want to keep everybody in front of them, whatever case may be. So I stem in 5 yards. I get vertical for 10, and then I bend it right in front of the safety. The safety's here. I bend it right in front of the safety. Bow. As soon as I turn my head, that ball is past me, like literally past me. I just threw my hands out like, oh, boom. I caught it. And then I was running like I was running from the police on St. Clair. I was just taking off. I'm like, oh, my head was up. Coach Walker probably like, that's terrible form, but my head was up. I'm just running. Dove in. We ended up winning the game. But consistent playmaking because I consistently prepared in the offseason. I understand how to take care of my body now. I understand what it took to mean a pro. I was studying my plays, so I was prepared for those moments. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And the rest is history, bro. Like it's just
we got to take a quick break, man. Hey, Cecil was in here cooking, man. Let's take a quick break, real quick, man. When we come back, we're gonna get more into this sophomore season. I'm finna break some rules. I'm gonna call my EP later, but this story is good. Listen, Ultimate Guardian Show comes at you every Monday, man, with my man Adam the Bull and Zach Meisel. The Guardians is on the way tonight against the Oakland A's. I'm pretty sure Bull is going to be reacting to that very, very soon. So don't forget to catch the Ultimate Guardian Show right here on the UCSS YouTube channel. You ready for the Guardians?
I'm ready, man. It's weird calling them the Guardians.
It is.
And it's weird in Houston, and the Astros are really good every year.
Yeah.
And down here. So it's weird, like kind of defending the Guardians, trying to stand up for them. And everybody's like, the Astros this, the Astros that. So but I'm ready for them. It's exciting. It's always a fun time of year.
So after that Indy game, right? We a couple games into the season, man. Now you done got some big play touchdowns under your belt. Yeah. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. This is how much I was paying attention. That year you led the AFC South in receiving yards.
I led the AFC South in not receiving yards. Andre Johnson led in receiving. I think I was second. Andre Johnson led receiving yards. And then I was first in yards per catch.
That's what it was. Yards per catch.
Yards per catch, like 18.3 or something like that. Something crazy, yeah. But I wasn't a starter until like week 7. So I was still a package guy. And then our guy, LaRon Robinson, he struggled that year with concussions. It was sad, right? Like it was just randomly, you see his head just boom, boom. I'm like, oh, it was just crazy to see. Really good dude. Really, really good dude. Taught me a lot too, man. He was a vet that really kind of took me under his wing, was telling me, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that. But once he went down, I ended up being the guy, or I kind of took his role, and then, yeah, ended up being second in the AFC South of receiving yards.
So you go through you know, the first part of your career in Jacksonville, just like overall, what was that like before? Like, first, because the NFL 3.5 years, not for long.
Yeah.
But you play and you play well enough to hit free agency.
Yeah.
And everybody knows that, okay, Cecil was about to earn a free agency contract. Like, everybody that knew you had put in the work. And clearly, just hearing the backstory, you was really putting in the work to earn that type of reward. How was it like finishing up in Jacksonville and then becoming a free agent? Like, talk about like just closing it up in Jacksonville and then like, okay, I'm a free agent now.
It was bittersweet. It was bittersweet because like you go to college, you're there 4 years. You go to high school, you're there 4 years. Most middle schools is what, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, you're there 4 years, whatever the case may be, right? It's like I enjoyed my time there. They watched me grow up. They watched me turn into a decent playmaker. And I really wanted to sign back, right? We were in negotiations or we were talking contracts during my 4th year there. Some unfortunate things happened. I kind of got a lot of injuries my 4th year there, and they end up saying, hey, but respectively, which a lot of people nowadays don't get, right? You'll see like a guy like, oh, I got traded. I didn't even know I was traded, or I got released. They even talked to me. Jacksonville pulled me in. They pulled me in. The head coach, the GM, they pulled me in. We had a conversation. And they said, I love you. We appreciate you, all you've done for us. Well, you know, we think it's best we go our separate ways. You know, we're rooting for you. There may be a chance you come back. You never know. But from that conversation, I respected them so much. Like literally, like I respected them so much because you could have easily just said, nah, F you, we ain't messing with you. You know, You've been injured too much the last couple of years. Like but they thought enough of me, or maybe I put it this way, I earned the right from my hard work and practice, from me being a professional, learning how to be a pro, my efforts in the community. They thought enough of me to like, hey, we love you. We're gonna bring you and have a real man-to-man conversation. And I just appreciated that so much. Like that mean the world. I'll never forget that day walking in that room to the GM's office, who actually was a John Carroll grad. And that's my Mount Union coming out, right?
Yeah, of course, right? Of course.
But having that man conversation and I just appreciated it, man. Like it just meant the world to me. And then Gus Bradley being the head coach at the time, we hugged, he cried a little bit. It was just meaningful. Like you care for me as a person. And you don't get that in this business. You know what I mean? You don't get that in this business. So I appreciated that. And then I was scared. I was hype. I was scared because like you never know. You hear so many things in the off season about how much money you can get or going to a new place. So I had a few teams calls, like I think it was Seattle, Indianapolis, and Houston. And I'm like, okay, some good places to be. But with Seattle and the Colts, I'm like, that's Russell Wilson. Ooh. And that's Andrew Luck at the time. I'm like, ooh, okay. But they were like 1-year deals, right? Because they were like, hey, your injury history. And I mean, the free agency is so crazy. They were like, Cecil, you were on the injury report your last 2 years, like 78% of the time or something like that, right?
And you like, wait a minute. How you know that, fam?
I'm like, wait, what? Like, yeah, I'm like, but I played in most of those games. Majority of those games I played in. They're like, no, but you were on the injury report. You might have played, but you were on the injury report for this amount of, percent. And this the details of everything. If they're going to give you a lot of money, they're going to know everything about you, right? So I'm like, I could go to Seattle on a 1-year minimum deal and compete, which I have no problem doing. I probably would love that culture with Pete Carroll in the prime and Sherman, all those guys. In that prime, I would absolutely love it. But there's no guarantee I make the team. Indy, and again, I was confident in myself, right? But Indy, I'm like, okay, they got TY, they got Red. There's some people I can go there and compete. But again, it's a 1-year deal. Where Houston offered me 2 years, $6 million. I'm like, that outweighs the league minimum for the other two. It's a no-brainer. Plus, Houston was really good at the time. They were a stable organization. Where I came from in Jacksonville, I had 3 head coaches in 4 years.
Right.
I had 3 offensive coordinators in 4 years. I had 2 head coaches in 4 years. So I wanted stability. I wanted to go somewhere that was going in the right direction. And Houston, this made the most sense. But it was an amazing and nerve-wracking feeling at the same time, that process. But man, it's just cool to see like your hard work really pay off and you earn yourself a little bit of change.
For sure, for sure. Like it was cool for us to see you really earn that. You know what I mean? Especially knowing like in the NFL, you typically don't make it to a second contract. You know,
Facts.
and even if it's not the most outrageous money, I mean, hell, coming from where me and you come from, that's enough money to create generational wealth right there. You know what I mean? So it's like well, most people see these contracts, and again, I know where I come from. It's like, well, shit, if I got 7 million, that's enough money to change my family's life forever.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that when you come from the inner city, you really have grinded for everything that you have. Like it helps you keep a lot of things into perspective. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't. Most people kind of like honestly, they get the big head. You know what I'm saying? They let the money get to them, and next thing you know, they right back where they came from for real. And like I'm fortunate that's not your case. That's not your story.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of your upbringing, just a lot of who you are as a man, a lot of your experiences, to where by the time you got to that point, you still just a dude from Cleveland. You're not thinking about Lamborghinis. You know what I mean? Like I tell people all the time, bro, if I had $1 million, I'm still driving a Chevy. Yeah. I promise you I am. It might be the most expensive Chevy that they make, but it's a Chevy. You feel me? Like it's a Chevy.
It'll be
like,
clean,
bro,
though. It'll be clean.
It'll be clean. I want to build a house, like, and like I tell people, like on Lakeshore Boulevard, if you go down Lakeshore, in 2 minutes you can either be in the hood or semi-suburbs. I want to build a house over there. I love it here. I love all of that. Talk about the years in Houston, man. Like, you know, like how was Houston? How was it being a Houston Texan?
Probably the best organization I've ever been a part of. By far. They treat you like family. The Kyle McNair, Hannah McNair, just amazing people. They're the owners of they actually just got principal rights to be the owners of the Houston Texans. Amazing, amazing people. Literally have a relationship with them to this day. My sons plays baseball with their sons on the same select baseball team. It's just how the organization is ran. Every single person in that building, they know your name, they love you, they appreciate you, they work hard for you, you're working hard for them. The city loves you. Like they appreciate you. Very loyal. Similar to Houston, similar to Cleveland. Whether you're 0-16 and stinking it up or 16-0, they're gonna cheer for you. They may be mad at you, but they're gonna cheer for you. They're gonna have your back, right? And they're gonna, when they see you in the city, they're gonna recognize you, they're gonna treat you special, right? I had a time of my life in Houston. The teammates were amazing. They welcomed me in. Playing with future Hall of Famer and J.J. Watt was amazing. Playing with this great talent around like Jonathan Joseph, Kareem Jackson, DeAndre Hopkins. It's so many guys, legends in my book, legends like Nate Washington, who won 2 Super Bowls, went to Tiffin College, won 2 Super Bowls with the Steelers. Even some of the younger guys like Jalen Strong, there's just so many guys, Kenny Hilliard, that you get to know over the years. DJ Reader, who actually played in Cincinnati, who's in the AFC North. It was just a good time, man. Like I have no complaints at all. Playing with Bill O'Brien, he's a genius when it comes to football knowledge. He just knows the game, right? Like Bill O'Brien's offensive mind is crazy. But it was just a really good time. I ended up getting cut my second year, which was a surprising cut. But yeah, it was no complaints at all.
Yeah, that first year, you know, I remember I think you all was featured on Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
So we got the opportunity to really kind of like
Kush was crazy. Kush my dude. He's a good dude, man.
You know, Mike Vrabel is here in Cleveland now, right?
Braves on the team's coaching staff.
It was like that dude got head coach written all over. You know what I mean? Like, and you see wow, like the whole nine. Like, even with you, man, like you even got a chance to play quarterback again a little bit. Like, I was like, no, he ain't out there throwing touchdowns, man. So, like, you have, like, man, your career was like, it's a blessing, bro. You caught touchdowns, you threw touchdowns, you lived out your dream. Unfortunately, it didn't end the way that you wanted to. And last week, man, I was Googling, getting ready for this show. That was the first time I seen that picture of you on that cart in that Tampa Bay Buccaneers uniform. And it was depressing. And I know I was one of the people that was praying like hell that you would have the final say on how this was over. Even though I was smart enough to know like the injury history, to know this game, to know how the NFL works, it was just like let him get the opportunity to go out on his own terms. Like, do you remember anything from that last game? You know, just the suit up, you know, because when something like that is taken away from you, you go back and it's like I didn't know that this was going to be it. The drive to the stadium, the suit up, the running out there on the field, the play itself. Like, what do you remember from any of that?
I remember. So I spent 1 year with Houston, made the playoffs. The next year, we're going to that off season. I know the playbook like the back of my hand now. I'm having a really good training camp. Long story short, I was at LaRon Marshall's wedding. So training camp's over. They made cuts. I'm at LaRon Marshall's wedding. I'm the best man at his wedding. And I get a phone call the day of the wedding that I got cut. So I'm in Columbus, Ohio. They're like, hey, we're going to go a different direction in the receiver room. I'm like, oh, that's a surprise. I'm like, okay, all right. Well, appreciate y'all. We're going to need your playbook. I'm like, well, I'm in Columbus, Ohio. So y'all ain't going to get this playbook.
Right. I'm busy right now.
So I get that call. And I'll be honest with you, that training camp, I'm battling how long do I want to play? Because you start seeing the politics being played, right? You start seeing the love of the game be kind of stripped away from me a little bit. It was just frustrating some of the things that were going on, right? Mm-hmm. High school, middle school, high school or muni leagues, what we call it in Cleveland, which is like, you know, youth football. That's like the purest form of football, right? When you get to college, I went D3, it was pure. The more you're in the league and you see some things going on, it's politics, right? It's just the name of the game. It's business. It's business. Right. So we drafted the first round receiver that year in Will Fuller, exceptional talent. We drafted Braxton Miller, Ohio State guy, exceptional talent. And I was bringing Braxton under my wing, trying to teach him whatever I could because I was confident in myself. I'm going to make the team. And I'm a baller. I don't care what's going on. But at the same time, I see potential in Braxton. That's like coach side in me. I see potential in Braxton. Like, you can be nice. Right? Let's do this and do that. So I'm teaching these guys. We drafted a guy named Keith Mumphrey, I think, too, maybe the year before or year after, whatever. So I'm just trying to be a good teammate, be a good vet, right? They asked me to take a pay cut that year. I said, I'll take a pay cut, thinking I'm going to make the team. I said, I'll sit on the bench for $1.5 million. Yeah, whatever. I ain't got to dress. That's $1.5 million in my pocket, whatever the case may be, right? They cut me. I'm like, okay. Or I saw how training camp was going. I'm like, okay. I went from starting first day of training camp. By week 2, I was on twos, and I was balling, but I was on the twos. I'm like, okay, I see how it's going. Let me just, play the game, play it out, be a good vet. Boom. Get cut at LaRon's wedding. But at this time, I'm like, do I still want to play? What's going on? I'm like, I got to learn a new system, learn a playbook. So I literally fly from Columbus, Ohio to Tampa Bay. It was between, I think, 3 teams. San Diego, it was the Chargers, Tampa Bay, and somebody else. I can't remember the third team. So I fly out there from Columbus, Ohio, just whatever bag I had, try it out. They're like, we just want to make sure you was in shape. I'm like, oh, okay, I could have told you that. But anyways, stayed in the hotel for 2 months till I found a small apartment not too far from the place. And I was out there learning the game, learning the system. Boom. So I was the 5th or 6th receiver, kind of trying to work my way up, right? Vincent Jackson was on the team. Mike Evans was on the team. Russell Shepard was on the team. Rest in peace, Vincent Jackson, by the way. Really good dude. But I'm just learning from them the playbook. And about week 7, I get my opportunity. Playing like the Kansas City Chiefs. No, we're playing like the Chicago Bears, get a few catches. I'm like, okay, I'm getting some rhythm with Jameis. It's finally coming along. I know my plays. We're good to go. Then think a week or 2 later, we go to Kansas City. Kansas City, one of the hottest teams in the NFL right now. Man, I end up having like 5 or 6 catches for 60, 70 yards. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm getting in the groove. I'm hype. I'm just excited. Still a vet, right? Still helping the young guys, encouraging the older guys, whatever the case may be. Just being a good teammate. But at the same time, I'm still battling. How long do I want to play? What do I really want to do next? Like, how long do I want to play? Like, I'm tired of the game, but I'm here, right? I went from loving practice and loving to compete every single day and still loving to compete, but like, dang, I got to get up and go to practice today. Like, so this your mindset started changing as I got older. So I had one more good game with Tampa Bay. I'm like, oh, well, I'm getting the rhythm. V-Jack gets hurt. It's my first start. in San Diego. My first start, week 13, week 12, like that. I'll never forget the play. It was a normal day. We went on the West Coast, usually travel 2 days before, right? East Coast games, 1 game before. West Coast, 2 games before. We fly out, we chilling. I get my little massage before the game the night before. Everything was good. Normal routine for me. I'm excited because I'm starting. San Diego Chargers locker rooms were terrible. It was just awful. Anyways, like Hollywood Dungeon was better than the San Diego Chargers.
For real?
Oh yeah, at that time. The visitor locker room, it was terrible.
That's crazy. And
So
our look, the viewers don't even know what you just said, but like the people who know,
about the dungeon.
No, like, that dungeon, that's when boys turn to men. For real. Like for real.
Oh no, for sure.
You know what I mean? That's crazy.
So it's 3rd and 15. Never forget this. Guys playing outside leverage on me, right? So in my mind, he's playing outside leverage. That's because he's protecting where he does not have help at. He has help on the inside, right? Man coverage, he's playing tight press. I jab outside to get him to hop more outside, so I got a clear release. It's 3rd and 15. I got a 15-yard in, right in the first down marker. Boom, I hit it at the top, and I'm winning, right? I'm thinking, I'm like, in my head, I'm like, Jameis, throw the ball. I'm wide open. I'm about to go score. I didn't know there was a safety up top. I thought he came down or that he went somewhere else, right? So as soon as I turned, Jameis saw me. He's hummed that thing. Boom. You know, Jameis is weird. But he threw the ball. I love Jameis. And as soon as I put my hands on it, I flipped. He hit my knee. I flip over. I actually hung on to the ball. It was the first down. But I tried to get up, and I couldn't. And it felt like I hit my funny bone, right? My body was in shock. I didn't know at the time. My body was in shock. So I tried to get up. If I hit my funny bone, I'm like, hey, come get me. But by the time I'm doing that, waving to them, they're already halfway there. They flip me over. They start playing with my knee. They're kind of like moving around. And I'm laying on my back. And I'm like, hey, my knee don't hurt till y'all touch it. Like, stop. Like, stop playing with my knee. I'm fine. And they're like, ignoring me. I'm like, hey, it doesn't hurt until you touch it. And they're like, hey, you dislocated your knee. Just relax. And I'm like, oh, okay. You probably need to fix that. So I lay back down. And I'm like, I'm thinking, right? I'm like, last year I dislocated my shoulder. I missed 1 game and I played on a short week. I was fine, right? I probably missed 1 game and get back to it. Well, when you dislocate your knee, you normally tear every single ligament or whatever the case may be in your knee. I didn't know that at the time. So they were literally trying to pop my knee back into place. The cart comes, both teams come on the field. Again, I don't know. My body's still in shock. It hurts a little bit, and I didn't know the severity. They pick me up, and the doctor gives one last heave, and my knee pops back in place. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm like, all right, whatever. And everybody's coming around me, and I'm filled with adrenaline, right? I'm like, let's go win this game. Boom, 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 boom. I'm hyped. I'm like, let's go. Come to find out when I get to the hospital, I'm in the hospital for like a couple of days. They wouldn't let me fly home. And I was at peace. For the first time that last 2 years of my life, I was at peace. I'm like, I'm battling if I still wanted to play. But I was at peace in that moment. I'm like, I get to relax a little bit. Not knowing severity, right? I'm just thinking the rest of the season. I'm just thinking that moment, not even the rest of the season, that moment, right? So I do all these x-rays and all these MRIs and everything. I still got my uniform on, like my undershirt from the game. And I kind of find out about 3 years ago, that I was 2 or 3 centimeters away from getting my leg amputated. From having my leg taken away from me, like from my knee down, basically taken away from me. I had to get 7 surgeries. I was stuck in California for about 2-3 weeks living with my agent. My agent's, I love him. One of the best things that ever happened to me, knowing him, Chase Callahan. I lived with him and his wife and his 2 pretty girls. They're older now, like 11-ish years old, 9, 11. But I literally lived with them for 2 weeks in December, maybe 3 weeks. Couldn't move my knee. My knee was straight, like just couldn't move it. I get 1 surgery. They staged my surgeries. Dr. Elatrash, never forget this in LA. They staged my surgery. I get a surgery, then they put me in this brace, and I can't move it for a couple weeks. I fly back home to Houston. I start therapy. My knee will not budge. I'm on the table at the rehab center. They're like, bend your knee. I'm like, I can't bend it. They're like, no, bend your knee. I'm like, no, I can't bend it. I haven't bent it. I can't bend it. They're like, oh, whatever. And the doctor tried to bend it. They're like, wait a second. So they slide my leg kind of off the bench and they start jumping on my leg, trying to get it to bend. It will not bend. They had to go inside. So my first surgery was like MCL. Second surgery was a scope to clean all the scar tissue out. That was my very first surgery in Houston. After every surgery, I think I had 6 or 7. Like it's big when you hurt your knee to fix your quad, get your quad strength going, the bending, the range of motion. So I'll make progress. Then I got to get another surgery. I lose all the progress. Start completely over. So now I go ACL, start completely over, right? Then we go LCL, start completely over. We go meniscus, start with another scope. It just everything starts over. So mentally, I was drained. Mentally, I was out of it. I'm like, I'm doing the same thing over, and I'm tired of coming to this rehab place. I just got to a really, really dark place. Started kind of overdosing on my medicine because it took the pain away. It took my reality away from me a little bit. It made me sick at times, but it was just a really dark place to be in. And it took a while for me to get out of there. And I didn't even know I was there until my wife was just like, hey, you got to get yourself together.
I was going to ask about that.
All you do is literally just be here and lay down. So it was
tough. Big, beautiful family. You know, you got a beautiful wife, beautiful children, a huge family. I don't know who got more kids, you or Ernest Kerr. I really don't know. Like, I don't know what type of race.
That's a good question.
But you know, you got a lot of people that depend on you. You know, that look at you as a leader. You know, as your dad, your husband. Like, but you're not well within. And I know the hardest thing as men that we try to do is to pour into other people when our cup is empty. When our cup is not full, it is so hard to pour into somebody else. You know, how tough was that, knowing that because of you was in a dark place, you couldn't be possibly what you needed to be for the people that matter to you the absolute most?
Man, I didn't even know I was in a dark place. That's how dark I was. Like, I was just literally just living and frustrated and mad and upset and saying all these what ifs. And it was just looking back, it was a sad place to be in. I wasn't the best husband, brother, son, friend to anybody, father. I really needed a wake-up call. I really needed to, because all my identity was in football. Like my whole life, I'm like, I'm the underdog. I got to prove myself. I got to prove myself. I got to prove myself. I'm focused on this. Now it's taken away from you. It's like, what do I do now? Who am I? Right? They talk about being famous is a drug. It's like you get addicted to it. And I was never a superstar, but to be noticed when you come from, you're always the underdog, right? To be noticed. Come from Division III school to be noticed. You didn't go D1, you overlooked in high school to get noticed. You know what I mean? To be on the biggest platform. I made it to the highest level you can make it to. There's no other league, right? There's nothing higher than the NFL when it comes to football, the sport. And then it's taken away from you. It's like, what do you do? Now what's next? So it was hurtful. And I didn't know how many people I hurt at the time. I didn't know how many people I let down at the time. And I take that back. I felt like I let down people. I didn't. Everybody was so proud of me. But my mental was not okay because I'm thinking I need to do more. I was never satisfied. I think I told you off air, I never thought my career was good. Never until recently. I'm still fighting with that because you have these expectations of yourself. You have these thoughts, these goals, right? And then they don't happen. You don't meet the expectation. You don't meet your standards. You don't meet your goals. How do you deal with that? Instead of sitting back and saying, see, you beat the odds. Like, you weren't even supposed to be there. Like, you lasted double the time anybody last in the NFL to even make it, right? Instead of looking at it from that perspective and all the glory and the good things that did happen during that time and the memories, I always thought I didn't do enough, right? So I had to go to therapy. I had to seek counseling. I had to really dial into who I am, my belief in Christ, and who I am in God and what He thinks of me. Because if you think solely of your thoughts, it's you're never enough. You're
Right.
never enough, right? And I battled that for so long. Even today, I still battle with it. But for me, and I know maybe it's cliche now, and it's a popular thing now, mental health, but therapy has helped me so much. Because you said, as Black men, as men, period, we feel like we can handle everything.
Bro,
And
I go once a week.
and even in society, I feel like men are viewed as more valuable than they should be more valuable than they are vulnerable,
Right.
right?
Right.
So I mean, valuable. What kind of job that guy has? How much money he making? What's he's driving? How does he look? It's just what kind of value you bring. Instead of it should be more about men being vulnerable and being healthy,
Mhm.
right? When healthy looks different for everybody. I'm not just talking about healthy as far as physical, but your mental health. What does that look like? How do you take care of yourself? How do you handle anxiety? When you're stressed out, what are your healthy ways to get through that? Right? What are your healthy ways to deal with adversity? What are your healthy ways to deal with when you're upset, when you're angry, when you're dealing with a tough time, when someone dies? How do you handle those situations? Who do you talk to? Who do you open up to? And for the longest time, I didn't talk to nobody. It was all in here. And that's why I was in such a dark place. And I'm still learning, right? It's a cycle that it never ends. You got to keep learning, keep taking care of yourself. But I found it now. Whereas before in that time, man, it was scary.
I think like you put it so perfect. It's a never ending cycle. I go to therapy once a week, and I literally just told somebody, I hit 1 million views on the reel for the first time ever last week, and I've been noticing God has been blessing me, right?
Mhm.
Professionally, God has been blessing me. I am really truthfully living out my dream. But I feel so accomplished yet so incomplete all in the same breath.
Mhm.
And I tell people like, I don't mind being vulnerable now. Jeezy said it best: "It's power in our vulnerability." But I think the thing with myself I had noticed is I used to think, man, if I fulfilled this dream, that I will feel complete. That if I just start checking off stuff that I really want to do, and then I start accomplishing these things professionally, I will feel complete. And then you do that and you still feel empty. That hit totally different.
Mhm.
And now you running right back to therapy trying to figure out, okay, this thing that I thought that was gonna make me feel whole, I don't feel whole. Actually, I feel worse than what I kind of thought I would
Yeah.
once I got to this point. And so when you talk about that mental health, it has become something that, I pray that it's not cliche, because a lot of us we take it serious, because like you said, it's scary. It's really, really scary when you feel like that your life, your career, or whatever the case, like don't mean much. But I can just always tell you from the outside looking in, you was always somebody that was an inspiration and a motivation to everybody here at home. That your career meant so much to so many of us, and that everything that you accomplished, it was never in vain. Like you definitely beat the odds. Like you went to Collinwood High School, you know, you you made it to the NFL from Collinwood High School. You played down the street when you went D3. And I talked to Bird the other day. Bird said you got the number wrong. It was like 28 dudes that went D1.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? That same time frame. Not
Mm.
only did you go D3, they go D1. You all are drafted within the same year or two time frame. You're the highest drafted out of anybody that went to school on St. Clair. And you had the longest career out of anybody that was drafted in that time span that went to school on St. Clair. And so pat yourself on the back, bro, because you did that. You know what I mean? You played longer than the 3.5, and you was able to sign a free agent contract that can change you and your family's life forever. You know what I mean? So like when I look at it like that, my man did it. And then you even came home and gave back to your community with your football camp. You feel me? Like you did so much that a lot of people can only dream about doing. So never feel like your career was in vain, or like it wasn't successful, or like that you was a failure, because dude, like you are truly somebody special to the people that love you, to the people that matter to you. So we got to wrap this up. I'd have went crazy long. I'm pretty sure when the EPC see this, people will respect it, because of what we talking about. I deal with whatever I got to deal with on the back end. The conversation is what it is. But like, two things I got to know, man, and we'll try to get out of here within the next 5 minutes. You still stay in Houston. And we from this city to where a lot of people try to get up out of here. Like they feel like they can't accomplish their dreams here. Me, I don't want to leave. I have this attitude of everything that people telling me that I can't do here, I'm gonna show you that I can do it. Why not come home? Why stay in Houston?
SNOW. I am not dealing with that snow. I am not dealing with waking up early and the black ice and the shoveling and all that good stuff. When you experience warm weather, when you experience that warm weather, what they do, bruh? Woo! I always come visit. I do miss it. I do miss it Christmas time. That's it. Once January 1st hit, from about December to January, December 1 to January 1, I'm like, oh, I miss the snow. After that, man, I'm not trying to, it's about to be opening day in Cleveland. It's a chance to be cold. It's snowed before in April.
You already know what it's gonna be, man. I'm not going to no game in April.
I'm not trying to deal with that.
Don't nobody do that. No. Don't nobody do that.
But I do think about it often. Family's there, friends are there. I do think about it often, and it may be a thing in the future. I would love to. One of my dream jobs, and it could be down the line, would be a head coach at like Mount Union or a head coach at a high school in Cleveland. I think that would be so much fun, especially a D3 school, because the stakes are what the stakes are. It's not a lot of politics there, whereas now it's tons of NIL and this transfer portal, all this stuff, right? And there's some at the D3 level, but not at the Mount Unions and stuff like that. So that's definitely a consideration in the future, maybe. But as of right now, I'm not trying to be in the snow.
100, bro. So real quick, man, one last word. What would you tell the people that in watch part 1, watch part 2, then I heard your whole story and your journey, that got a big dream, but they got big hurdles in front of them? What would your message be to them?
Stay consistent. Never give up. What you've done is already enough. What you've done, what you accomplished so far, is a success. Don't look at yourself as anything but a success. Always have positive self-talk. I think that's huge. If you want something, I think you can get it. I tell my kids all the time, if you really want something, you can do it. You got to put the work in. You got to be different than everybody else, right? You got to grind. You got to figure out a way that no matter what else is going on around you, that my path of success will happen, right? And you can't compare. I think too many of us compare like his success or her success. No, focus on your success. Everybody's path of success is different. Everybody's view of success is different. Everybody's definition of success is different. Everybody's calling and purpose is different. Some people are going to have trillions and millions of dollars and entertain people for a living. That's their purpose. Other people are going to impact kids in a different way, right? They might work at the YMCA. Be proud of that, yo. You're making an impact every single day that other people can't. So don't compare your success to anybody else. Stay consistent, stay with it. Enjoy what you do. Enjoy each and every moment. I think life's too short. I think we take too many things for granted. Like simply getting home safely is something we take for granted. That's a big deal. That you get from work safely, that's not promised.
People don't realize, on that note, and I've talked about it here, I don't think people realize how many people we know our age that's deceased, and I tell people I'm 36 and I got over 36 people I know in the grave that never saw 36. That's real. Where we come from, it's unfortunate, but God makes no mistakes. Bro, this has been fun. This has been everything I hoped it would be, and then some. It's always a pleasure to have you on. Who knows, bro? You might have a job here at the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show one day.
Hey, come on with it. Let's work together. Our own podcast. Let's do it.
It might be like that. This has been another episode of the Ultimate 216 Show, man. Till next time, man. Y'all know the vibes from me, man. Be great, spread love, being great. But that thing come with a price. Spread love. That thing is priceless. From me, from Cecil, we are out of here.